Thank you very much for coming along to the Designer Degree 2.0, which is a name which we kind of took from something we did a couple of years ago. First of all, if I just introduce Headforwards, we're an outsourced software company based in Cornwall. We are about 70 odd people now, growing to about 90 in the next 6 months. That was us 3 years ago when we were 30 people on our first 30 people anniversary. And this is quite a nice quote actually. I don't know if, does anybody here do presentations? Yeah, so I kind of just like go, let's take a recent presentation and then sort of cut out all the content and then produce more content. But this I thought was quite interesting, and it's kind of relevant because obviously what we're trying to do here is actually all about knowledge and trying to look at how we can find more knowledge more easily within the sort of degree and educational system. So 2 years ago we ran the Design Degree 1.0. About 60 people posted ideas throughout the whole conference actually for what they thought should be in a future computing degree. We pulled that together, and actually Paul here worked with Cornwall College to actually rewrite their entire degree programme using some of that information as, to actually help steer the direction, I suppose, of a new degree programme, which was really interesting. And we thought, well, that's really cool, because then obviously as people working within the industry, we want to be able to find people who are coming out of university, graduating with really relevant skills and relevant experience and knowledge that's actually going to be really relevant in our businesses. So that was a great output. Since then, we've been thinking about, well, there's obviously, there's a course that we think is a good course because it's kind of got relevant information, and that's really useful, obviously, to industry. But where are the other great degrees? Where else are there? And obviously, Robert lectures at Imperial, so obviously some great degrees there, I'm sure. Is that right? But where are the great degrees and what's actually on them? What do they consist of? So we thought about actually how do, it would be interesting to actually carry out a study of all of the degrees in the UK and try and work out, where are the really interesting degrees, and actually, pull together a list of potentially, a number of degrees that we would consider to be really interesting based on a collection of views. So we're doing this session today, we've done one session previously. We're going to go through a sort of validation exercise to develop a methodology in which an independent research company will be able to analyse all the different degree programmes. So there's about 1,200, to put it in perspective, it's about 1,200 computing degrees courses in the UK. And so we thought it would be interesting just to sort of analyse all of those against what real people like yourselves actually think should be in a course. So, the ultimate result will be a list of 100 interesting degrees. We're aiming to publish later this year and potentially turn this into a sort of annual review of what's going on within the university education institutions across the UK. So, the next bit is going to be over to yourselves. What we're looking for is everyone's thoughts on what should be, what should be in a computing degree. Last time we did this, we literally just had a sort of blank sheet of paper. And what kind of happened, because it was a sort of over the course of 2 days, we actually found that people were sort of contributing ideas around certain areas and missing out other areas that, I think most people would agree would be valid content areas of degree programmes. So we've put together a sort of a vague set of kind of high-level topic areas, and there may be other areas that should be there, in which case do feel free to add that. But ultimately there's, I think we can probably see that there's a number of different sort of areas that should be in a future computing degree programme, and they'll probably fit somewhere within this structure. And so that's really just there just to sort of try and widen the thoughts across a number of different areas. We could have a massive discussion about this type of exercise or methodologies, etc., etc., etc. And I'm really happy to have a discussion afterwards. But one of the things we're really interested in is actually capturing everybody's thoughts on what should be in a degree programme. So you should have some, obviously you've got beer near you, which you're welcome to drink. And there's post-it notes. So, has anybody not got a pen? You've got one? Okay. Anyone else still need a pen? Oh, brilliant, thank you. So, go for it. And should we do, like, say 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes? If you've completely exhausted all of your thoughts, then feel free to stop. But really, we're looking to sort of collect everybody's thoughts together. And
is it like an Agile on the beach recommendation or a Headforwards? Who sort of publishes that?
So we're going to publish it as Headforwards. Right. But if anybody would like to be credited, please see me afterwards. Context. So really, we're doing it for a number of purposes. Really, one is to actually identify which courses are doing really interesting things, and it will be published so that hopefully that ultimately allows us to perhaps target those places for recruitment. Obviously, for offering graduates potential positions and trying to seek out where potentially interesting graduates are. But also, actually, by sharing this information, it also allows other people to actually, find out where there are interesting courses. One of the things that we have noticed anecdotally, since sort of looking into it, we've been thinking about doing this for 6 months now, and one of the things we have found is that you can get some really interesting courses at institutions and they just don't get anybody onto them. No graduates actually go on to some really good courses with nobody applying for them. And then there's some other courses, and you look at them and you think, you're missing out on, there's courses that don't cover continuous integration, don't introduce that as a concept. And so we thought, well, those courses are probably, if they're from more established institutions with very well regarded institutions, then they probably get lots of very good graduates going through the courses, but those graduates in some ways, and then may well be very, very capable undergraduates as a result of their interest and their drive, but they've not necessarily been covering some of the areas that we would consider to be important in a modern sort of industrial setting. So so there's a number of purposes really behind it, but it's just but the key thing really is to allow industry to feed back and say, look, these are the things that we think are important, and therefore obviously institutions like we've seen has happened already, but obviously more institutions will be able to sort of say, well, perhaps we need to sort of take some of these ideas and consider them when we're redesigning our courses or reviewing courses.
Exchange ideas as well. It's not silence is not mandatory. It's okay. Sorry. Yes. Sorry, you have to wait a while to listen. Thank you. Yes. Just write down what you think is kind of essential stuff for them to be learning on their courses, or if there's something that you wish you'd been taught or studied, you know. It's like, I ran out of pens, but there was one in everyone's delegates bag, so I was kind of hoping everyone still had one when they came in.
Oh, thank you.
If you have finished, or if you think you've
okay.
kind of, so if you have finished, then feel free to come up and post your And then after we've done this, we'll just
it's fine, sorry, there you go.
ask people to highlight any of the key things that they think are really, really important. Or whether or not there's any sort of topic areas that are missing. Did you have a red shirt?
I removed it last week.
Yes. Nobody has posted in communication networking security yet. Does this mean the end of TCP over IP?
You just haven't had mine yet.
Oh, sorry?
You haven't had mine yet.
Brilliant, thank you. So we've also got some. Sorry about that. We've also got some sort of questionnaires really based on some previous exercises. So if it's possible, if you could go through these as well, this would be really useful to sort of validate some previous analysis that we've carried out. So feel free. You don't have to realise we're answering quite a lot, but it would be really, really useful. And whilst you're doing that, has anybody got any other questions?
What does interesting mean on your side?
Interesting. Well, I think it's whatever. What does everybody think is interesting?
Well, because it says, what are the most interesting degrees? And so I wonder, did you mean, the ones that are most signed up to, or the ones that have the highest quality content? Or I thought it was, I wonder whether you pick the word interesting in particular.
I think interesting to people. So what would you find? If you were to look at a particular course, would you think that that's an interesting course?
As an applicant?
Yes. Or potentially as somebody, potentially as an employer, or from a business perspective, would you find that course would be producing interesting people that would be of interest to you?
Because interesting doesn't necessarily mean practical and relevant.
True. Yes.
Not to say that it should be right.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the same.
Yeah, I mean, so to be clear, it's not about entertainment. We're not interesting as in it's an entertaining. It's more interesting from a modern software perspective.
So do you think degrees should be outputting graduates who can step into a development team and know continuous integration, or if it is exclusive, they should be focusing on sorting the wheat from the chaff? If you've got something, if you are trusting your business's future with a developer, and it comes to you and says, in my degree I did Java, and we know about continuous integration, or another guy who said we did Lisp and esoteric, difficult languages and really complicated stuff and machine learning and crazy difficult things, but he's got no experience of how to work in a team or how to use integration tools. Which guy would you choose?
Or me personally?
Well, I mean, that's the question to employers, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Do you want the guy that's
The second one.
the clever guy who hasn't proven himself to work in a team, or the team player who hasn't proven himself that he can actually achieve difficult, complicated things?
Or the founder who actually focuses on the business stuff and will kind of help the guy what needs to be delivered rather than task.
But he's only going to be 21, you see. These guys that come out of university, they don't know anything, do they? They don't know anything about the world.
Well, I put down about a year in industry. I put down under art as a really important part. So we take about 4 or 5 students a year, but in their third year they come to us a year and they go back to uni and complete their final year. And then that's almost our graduate school. Because you can pick the ones that have got the best results from their second year or something, and you can pick the ones that are struggling in their second year. And sometimes they might not necessarily be the most supposedly intelligent one that comes out on top after a year in individual business, then you know you can really work in business. And they go back to uni, will get their 2 on their first or whatever, and you can look at them. And actually, I've just taken someone after they did their year in industry with us, they went back completed it, come back to us, and they said to me when I offered them a job in January, you need to get a first to get a job. I said, I don't care what you do, finish your degree and you can work for us. I don't care if you fail, I don't care if you, I don't want you to, because for your benefit, I'd like you to pass. But I don't care if you get third or tutor or whatever, because I know you're the right person for the business because you spent a year with us already.
And what, from your research previously, what proportion of comp-sci degrees have that kind of year in industry?
We haven't done analysis of all the degrees yet, so we've just been collecting information about what people think is important generally. So when we first sort of looked at the exercise, we thought, well, we could write a list of what we think is important, but then actually that would only be our view, and actually there's lots of people's views. I think we've seen here that some really interesting points. I think the points about working in industry, doing actual practical. A lot of courses that we've spoken to, so not as part of this research exercise, but it's generally, obviously, we all talk to lots of different universities, but actually a lot of universities that I've spoken to are doing sort of practical projects, and they're saying, okay, we're going to run an agile project. We're going to use Scrum, for example, and we're going to try, or we're going to use Scrum to do a project as a module, or we're going to actually encourage students to work in use pair programming, or work in groups, form teams, that sort of thing, and take it in turns to undertake different roles within the teams, and so those sort of practical hands-on approaches I think they do seem to be reasonably common. I don't know however whether or not does that have value. I mean, I think it does. It would, on the face of it, seem to have value. But then, is it a realistic scenario? And of course, one of the complaints about that from people is that you go to university, you get put in a group with 5 other people, and no one else is interested in forming a team, or actually really getting. So it's perhaps it doesn't have so much value in that situation.
And there's a difference between traditional computer science degrees and software engineering. There is that's the focus. One is very much about the underlying theory and mathematical theory and sort of core stuff. And the other one is more engineering processing methodologies traditional. But I think you need both. I don't think you can do one or the other. But we talked about in your session about. I said that reminded me something because I want to know what they do. It's the most important thing as well. So I want to actually know that they can actually build something. So rather than giving them sort of toy problems, I think this is where the integration comes in. And maybe that should be another the projects that people do need to be real enough that they need something. They're not just kind of solving this. You have to do that initially just to learn stuff. As soon as you can, you start doing real stuff. Now, it doesn't have to be something that the university invents. It could be an industrial project, it could be an open source project, it could be something that actually they have to take sort of long-term responsibility. Because that's how it is. You don't just do a thing and throw it over the wall and think, well, I've got a mark for that, never mind, I'll just forget. In the real world, you can still be moving that over 10 years. And other people are going to be criticising you.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, what have you actually built is kind of. I went into a department once actually that they were doing. Agile. Yeah, we do like this Agile project, and this is this the sort of thing. And they explained how they introduce Agile in a sort of real project. I mean, students would take the whole term, they put into teams and spend the whole term doing it. And this is kind of. I thought, well, this is sounding really interesting, really great. And then right at the end, he said, so which part of the stack, or what is the project? I said, well, they have to build a Flash game. And right, okay. So the actual, lots of the process and sort of methodology, the Agile about learning about working together, that was all, absolutely fantastic. But then, building a Flash game was like Flash. I can vaguely remember using Flash 4.0, but I mean, does anybody think that Flash is a really good thing for people to learn? Anyone? Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of
Well, it sort of depends on that situation. It sounds like the point of that module was to learn about agile practice, and it wasn't to learn about a particular development technology. And so they almost didn't put much attention. Like, we need to build something, but what we need to learn in this module is Scrum is, and that's their learning objective. And so it sounds like what you're looking for is something that's a combination of that module with another one, which is like, web development or app development or something.
Well, they probably had a lecture in Flash in the 90s.
I think this is one of the challenges. I mean, to do that project, but perhaps, focus on, using, a stack that's kind of relevant. It doesn't matter if it's .NET or Python.
You've got two things you want to learn. You've got one you want to learn a process, and one you want to learn a technological thing that doesn't always fit into the scope of one module, because that's a lot of content. There's two different types of content, and so maybe the constraint in that case was we have one module as application to each thing, so we fill up all the content with process, and then we've got it into a real project. We can't teach them all that stuff as well. Because modules are quite separate.
Why, if you separate the module out, why wouldn't you teach them development first using the relevant language? Then you can go on with
Oh yes, you definitely could do that, and that would be a good idea.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, I'm not saying that you would want to do it that way, but it sounds like if that's a course that exists, that way it's turned out is things are developed separately, different people teach different modules, curriculum aren't always joined up in that way.
Can it be?
It could be, but it would be a lot of work for people who haven't currently done that way.
In the aim of the modules, teach Agile, why prescribe technology first? Give it up to students to choose technology. Just a project, just Agile methodology.
That presents its own challenges though, because sometimes when students go to do their final year projects, they have to say to their tutor what they're doing. The tutor doesn't know that programming language, so they have to go and find someone who does so they can mark it. So I had this with some guys from IT.
I've got a big issue with the whole language as well. This is such a good language. Besides, I don't care whatever I'm recruiting developers. We C# programs, I'll take a Java developer, I'll take a C developer, Ruby developer, anyone. I think quite the school about the stuff is bad. It's a platform to do that they don't understanding software and that needs to be there. Learning languages.
Isn't there a difference in not so much the language as what we're building? Like, I mean, do you see, because other people do their systems with the voice drive, you teach Java or whatever, somebody who's doing enterprise.
I think it's something that shouldn't be the core focus of the degree. Very Java.
The choice of language goes with the choice of what you're doing. So it's actually the fact that you're doing embedded, you're going to do it in C.
Yeah.
Probably in assembly. You're going to be doing enterprise stuff, it's probably going to be Java. So, but you have to teach them something.
We really want to continue this conversation. It's really exciting, but we're overrunning and there's someone else due to come in. But we're quite happy to continue talking and exchange details, and we'll share the process with you all as we go along.
That's a really good point. Some people say, look, as long as they learn some language and can prove that they can develop, if you learn C and C++, then that's fine. Whereas other people say, well, no, you need to go straight to Python and JavaScript, and then .NET people go, hang on, we're being left behind. So you can get hung up on languages. Some people think that it's important that people learn a language that's relevant. I don't know, I hear quite often people saying, wow, JavaScript, everybody should be learning some JavaScript because that's just so useful now, and there's a massive lack of people doing it, but once everybody does that, then there's abundance of JavaScript development. So. Thank you very much. If anybody's got any further feedback, come and find us.
How are we going to find out about this?
If you go to Headforwards, it will be publishing. It's later on this year, publishing results later on this year on the Headforwards website. If anybody is interested in being more involved, we are pulling together a list of people who we will be using as a sort of validation layer. So the next step, as we pull the methodology together, we'd be looking to run that past